Greetings and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm Ian Hansen. This is Brenda Burgett, intuitive medium and spiritual advisor. Brenda, on this edition of the program, we are going to talk about kind of a mishmash of subjects that all have to do with injury and or disease, potentially, something that's wrong with you physically, healing, and then also the creativeness behind those. It sounds kind of strange, I suppose, but basically the crux of this is, are we responsible for our circumstances physically while we're here?
Well, sounds interesting. Let's see what they say.
This was her idea, by the way, so it better sound interesting. So
sounds very interesting when it's my idea.
yes, it usually does, and we hope we hope you like the ideas here on Bridging the Gap. By the way, if there is something that you have not yet heard us touch on or talk about that you would like to, please send us those ideas along with questions for Brenda Burgett, which you can get to us either way through these websites, which would be bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com or bridgingthegapontv.com on the World Wide Web. And oh yes, on YouTube you can view us there. Almost, well, this is episode 20 that we're recording right now for you, so up to 20 episodes in our catalog. Hard to believe it's been that long. YouTube channel is Bridging the Gap on TV. Is it not, Jason? Bridging the Gap on TV. Yes, it is. Thank you. I've got Shuffy back here for some support. By the way, there are no cards, no teleprompters for all this. This is all done live and off the cuff, and I'm quite proud of that. Thank you, and Brenda should be too. So again, please give us a break, will you? Brenda, we have two questions actually here to start off with today. You ready?
I'm ready.
These both actually, one to start, one to finish out, will have to do with our central theme for today, so it's nice that they tie together. Again, questions, get them to Brenda Burgett. You can email her through the access of those two websites, bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com, bridgingthegaptv.com. Brenda, first question is, I was recently in a car wreck, actually it says here 2 years ago. I have had physical therapy since then and also have been trying massage to get well. I recently had a doctor tell me that the pain is actually all in my head/mind. Am I crazy or what? This comes in with complete anonymity, which by the way you can always remain when you email questions to us here at Bridging the Gap. What would you have to say to this person?
Well, we've talked about this a little bit in the past. We do create our own reality, and I've been in car wrecks, and when I think about, did I create my own reality there? Did I cause all of it? Yes, probably. But the physical, getting well, almost. This is a lady that called me, and I talked to her a little bit on the phone. So
another person who actually has had contact with you otherwise besides the website questions.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we got a chance to talk a little bit. And what came out of it was she's still very angry at the person that hit her. It had disrupted her life, and every time she thought she would be getting better and go apply for a job or something, she didn't get the job. Is she creating this in her own life? Yes. It can't be that hard and fast, though. I mean, really and truly, she's a very sweet person. She wants to do well. She's made all the efforts, but the anger is keeping her from healing. And the fact that her life seems to be falling apart is all a part of this pain. When you're feeling really, really good, if you have a headache, the headache normally goes away. If you have a cold and...
It can depend on who you're married to, by the way, as well. So.
Yes, that's very true. And I know I have not had a cold for years because I was told that there's no such thing as a common cold. It's just an excuse for a day off. And my auntie told me that.
Oh, okay.
I loved her to pieces, and she was into this woogie long before I was.
It sounds like a truant officer speaking, doesn't it? There's no such thing as a common cold. That's just an excuse not to come to school/work today. So, all right, but it is an interesting perspective that you can take. It's one that you've adopted, and it's been working for you.
It works. However, it does not work with flus and viral things, because when I get those, I'm down.
Oh, okay. So viruses
one every 10 years
supersede this mind control.
They seem to, but I get well a lot faster than maybe I used to.
This is where you're expecting us to whip out a box of cold eats brought to you by. All right. So no, we're not going to do that today, actually. So
we're not.
I didn't get any money, so I'm not whipping nothing out.
There you go. us again.
Hey, see what happens to it though? Adopting this mindset may also turn on you because you become dirtier of thought here. Well, Brenda, it sounds to me like, and again, forgive the term, but maybe this person who has written in has created kind of a vacuum of bitterness, if you will. The accident happens, it's an unfortunate thing, it hinders her physically in some way, and then it becomes the reason why nothing is going right.
Exactly. It's just part of the, what I call making a grocery list. Go get milk, bread, whatever, only headache, they don't like me, this won't work, I'm not going to do it anyway. This is all their fault. Why don't I feel well? Well, it's got to be because I,
If you don't relate to this, think of the last time you had to go to your in-laws' house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, which are coming up too. And we kind of do that. We make the list. Oh, reasons we're going to have to leave early. The dog wasn't feeling well. Looked really sick when we left. You know how I love the dog.
Should have brought him with me, but I know you didn't want him to throw up on your floor.
Exactly. Kids have had colds. You don't want them to spread it around after all. And, you know, little Aiden is, you know, he has a tendency to wipe it all over. He's like a little Egon from the first Ghostbusters. So, a lot of things that we do like that, Brenda. One central thing, and, you know, to be more serious, I guess, I have a family member who had something happen to them that could be construed as quite tragic, and I don't think they've ever gotten over it to the sense that they have utilized it to define why they haven't done so much with the rest of their life, in my opinion. And I think that a lot of people that know this person would probably agree, and it's hard for me to say because they may watch this at some point too. Sorry, but I think it's undeniable, and I think it's undeniable that a lot of us will do that. So how do we get around that? And then I want to talk about some time and space here. We're going to tune into Albert Einstein when we talk about the sitting in traffic and you're munched from behind or something like that. So let's talk first, though, about the principle of having these things happen and then have it define so many other things that will happen to you.
Let's go back a little ways to maybe the beginning of how you want to feel about yourself and how you perceive your life to be, and choices. You can change reality by the way you look at it. We've all known wonderful people who have not been dealt a really good hand as far as the physical things. Well, look at Stephen Hawking. You know, would you say he's handicapped? In what way?
Well, his mind certainly works, and
Right.
he talks really cool. I mean, I wish I could talk like he does through the machine, just on cue. Of course, it's a machine, but
Right.
yeah.
But we all know people like the person you're talking about. So to oversimplify everything, which is what I do best, change it. If something isn't exactly working in your life, if you don't like the way you feel, you don't like the way you change it. Reinvent yourself. This is a cool thing. I'm getting off the subject here, but I was watching, I think it must have been, I don't know, some dumb TV show. And it said, well, I just decided to reinvent myself. And I've been doing that myself almost about every 10 years. And since I'm 140, that's been seven or 8 times here we've done this.
She's also not very good with math. So.
Yeah, well, you know, the blonde hair kind of took care of that. But if you don't feel really well, if you don't really feel well and you haven't, and if you tell yourself, I have an option here. I have the option of breathing and feeling okay or going on with it. What do I want to do? Do what you want, but own it. I'm sick. I want to be sick. It's my choice to be sick. I have a cold. Colds are very convenient. I do get up occasionally and think, well, they're going to show me that I'm wrong on this. I'm going to be sick today. But I also have the attention span of a gnat, so I forget that I'm sick. But occasionally I'll take something, a Zycam, and get on with it.
I knew we'd have a brand name in there somewhere,
It's
so
wonderful.
Zycam.
And they've proven that doesn't work.
It doesn't
But
work.
it works for me.
But it works. See, that was the perfect tagline, wasn't it? This edition of Bridging the Gap brought to you by Zycam. It works for me. Take it. That would be mine. Just take it. So, wasn't that Clarisil's about 10 or 15 years ago? Just use it. I always loved that commercial. It was on MTV all the time. Not that I ever watched it after 1992, but yeah, I think I saw the commercial. Just use it. And I thought, wow, that's kind of in your face. Just use it already. Buy it and use it.
So, you know, the whole idea is, okay, you can be sick if you want to be sick. And there are people who are born with problems, and I don't see how that could be changed. I don't know. I don't understand all of that. But just, I had a car wreck. My neck hurts really bad. I treat people, that's a word that'll get me sued. I do energy healing called Reconnection, and we work with people quite often with things that are wrong with them. And if I had to put a percentage on them, I'd say 97% of the time they walk out pain-free. Now, I'm obviously very good at this, so send money, right?
Yes, it doesn't happen without the faces of Andrew Jackson and Grant.
But I've seen it work. I know that healing energy will go through you and cleanse you and heal you if you really want it. And sometimes if you don't want it, it's amazing. And I've seen people say, well, it didn't work, but they don't limp when they walk out. So I don't know. I just think let's claim and own what's going on in our own bodies. You know, take care of yourself. Do the best you can. Limit the fries.
Limit the fries. That's probably pretty good advice.
Except if you're my mother. And my mother is 89 in December and worst diet in the world. She should be dead 10 years ago. She's not.
I would guess that the countries of Morocco and Estonia, assorted others probably in the Eastern Bloc and Northern Africa, watch our program more than the collective of the state of Idaho, who has all just turned against us because of the fact that we are bad-mouthing the potato. So pretty much their whole infrastructure is based on the potato still. So
baked potatoes are good.
I believe McDonald's is responsible for what, 7/10 of the revenue that comes into the state of Idaho because of the potatoes, that the special potato that they literally had developed. Some of those are grown in Washington State too, I guess. But all right. In any event, taking care of your body, Brenda, I mean, this is where we get into a larger separation, though, I think, because you sit here right now quite healthy. I sit here right now feeling quite good as well. We don't have any limbs missing, at least that we're willing to reveal here on camera. We don't have any other ailments or problems. We certainly haven't gone through any major car wrecks recently that have us in traction or other things like that. So it could be perceived that it's very easy for us to say those things. So there's the bigger picture. The common cold, a little bit of pain, a headache here and there, those are seemingly easier things to dispatch. Now, what about the person who got into the mill wreck or the mill accident and lost their leg or arm in a combine? What about the person that came into this world as Bubble Boy and has never been able to literally lead a real life outside of some carapace that they put him in, medically speaking? I mean, there's all different numbers of people that are going to want to fit into this bridge that we're trying to put over the gap. So where do those more extreme cases fit?
I've read different people that I respect, and they've been asked that question. And one of them was Neil Walsh, and according to what in this conversation with God, and of course I'm really messing it up with my
paraphrasing, we'll say here. So
I'm messing it up.
Oh, she messing it up this time. So
this is the life they chose to live. Now, I find that hard. Why would anybody choose to live a life of such torment or whatever? But I'm going to say that's kind of the theory is they come in with it because that's their choice. This is what they're living. And it's totally different than waking up with a head cold or even cancer, because those are things that will come into your life. And what about a little child with cancer? Did they do that? I just have that hard time even answering that because I don't really want to think they did. But who knows? Who knows?
I think that's just it. There's always going to be a mystery here in everything that we talk about, and that's the neat thing, I think, about bridging the gap, is that you're only going to be able to bridge so far into that unknown, and then as you journey probably from this world into the next one, you may get a clearer look, or maybe other things that happen to us as time unfolds, and as our world begins to age a little bit more, and we've been on the planet a little bit longer, those types of things will be more well known. Maybe cancer or disease in general is a collective state of mind. Cancer is relatively new, too. I mean, I think most people need to be made medically at least aware of that. I'm not a doctor. I will play one on TV if I'm paid the right amount of money. But think about it. Cancer is relatively new. I'm sure that there were instances where growths or things within the body could turn into a problem in ancient times, but really cancer is a product of the industrial age. I mean, you look at all of the cancers that are in people, and most of them are there because of foreign things that have entered the body, either generationally speaking, which they're starting to prove more and more now, through our atmosphere, through exposure in factories. You see all these ads on TV if you've been exposed to asbestos, mesothelioma, you can be part of a big lawsuit. So it's relatively new, Brenda, so maybe we're going to get answers as a collective, as a species, if you will, about these bigger questions and about why children do have to come into this world with cancer, or they get it at some point in their early years. Things we don't want to think about, but I think we have to if we want to make sure that it doesn't happen to them anymore.
I think so. When I decided to allow myself to do what I'm doing right now, this psychic work, the creative, the energy work, one of the things that I wondered about and really had to think about was I don't have all the answers, and sometimes they don't give me the answers. And if I was told, just say what I tell you to say, and all the answers will be provided to the people who ask eventually. So we don't have the answer to all this. I don't have the answer. I did with the lady, we did a psychic reading, and I don't remember the things that come through necessarily, but she told me later that the thing that they had told her was very definitely something she needed to deal with and think about, that had happened before any of this came about. And she was already starting to feel better when she decided that maybe this might have been an answer for her. And I wish I knew what it was, but I don't.
And I'll propose this too, just as an idea. It doesn't necessarily mean that I subscribe to this or you do either. By the way, most of the views and opinions here on Bridging the Gap are, in fact, the interpretations of the host and Brenda Burgett, but not all of them, so here's one of those I think that you could run with. Maybe whatever it is that you believe is responsible for us being here, whether you call it God or whether you call it Source or whether you call it intelligent design, there's a lot of different ideas out there, and again, you're welcome to any of them that you want to, but maybe whatever that is hasn't quite got it right yet itself. Maybe it doesn't have all of the answers either, and it's going through the same evolution maybe that its creation, us and everything else that we know, is as well. Is that something you're willing to at least think about?
No.
The idea of a non-perfect entity that might be running the show behind the scenes?
I think the Source, God, and we all play with it, it's God in different faces and different names, does have, I believe all of the answers. They put it together, and we are here. This is what I come to believe, right or wrong, that we're here at God's choice, Source's choice, because in His own perfection, or her own perfection.
Stay away from the gender gap.
Right?
I don't want to bridge that.
They did not know what it was like to experience imperfection. And by living through us and seeing what we go through, they have the chance to experience living as a human. Now that was, again, I'm quoting about 3 different people all rolled into one. But that's what I believe. I cannot imagine that this whole thing that we're living right now in the universe, the world, the whole thing, was put together or designed or even participating in if they didn't have all the answers. I believe they do.
Okay. By the way, I rarely get to see Brenda make that face on the program, so you might want to back it up and see at the exact moment when I suggested what I did, her going like this, because it really didn't sit well with her. Can I attempt to level the playing field with one other thought then on the back side of this?
Shall we let him? Okay.
Shuffy says, okay, here it goes.
Okay.
Maybe the answer is simple, Brenda. Maybe the answer then is that we're trying to quantify perfection or being perfect too much. And I would say, and this is what I always try to ground myself in because it seems like the most root level of everything that is, and that is, you are, and that's perfect enough. That's perfect in and of itself. So maybe the baby that's born and doesn't live more than 48 or 72 hours has a perfect life within that very small window, as opposed to someone who lives 110 years and is a miserable bastard for the most part. Excuse me, but I think we see both happen. So are both perfect in their own beautiful way within our scope of existence? I might argue that they are.
I think I'll agree with him.
She likes that one better. So.
I like that.
Okay.
What did you say?
Now, it's time to go to the Plinko board. She gets to drop 2 chips, and if she lands on the $1,000 space, she'll come back for a big spin-off.
I'll have to spin off. Nobody told me I was going to.
No one said it was a sit-and spin-off. This is just the spin-off. That's it. That's all it is. So. Brenda Burgett, Intuitive Medium Spiritual Advisor with your host. I'm Ian Hansen. This is Bridging the Gap. Today we're talking about the gap between ourselves, Brenda, I guess in a manner of speaking, and our physical bodies, trying to sort out physical ailments that we might have. And I want to get back to this car wreck business because you were telling me earlier that you've been involved in a number of car wrecks and that you weren't cited under...
They didn't catch me.
Okay, they didn't...
No, that's not true.
Blur the face. Get out the floaty pasty. I love that thing. I want to do that one time. Can we do that one time, Chuffy? Okay, he says you can do it one time. So this is the Witsec version of Bridging the Gap. You know. So you're sitting there, you're sandwiched in between vehicles, and the collision happens, and you just, again, are seemingly in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's not a pleasant thing to be involved in a wreck. And saying again, Brenda, I think that everything is in essence your doing is very dangerous business in our world today, where the insurance companies pretty much run everything, because if they could fault everyone and raise their rates, they would. So let's not give them an excuse to do that on some spiritual plane. Aside from that, what about the timeline that we may be dealing with? Can we kind of get into that a little bit, because this is interesting stuff to me. The fact that you're sitting there sandwiched in between the Monte Carlo and the semi-truck when somebody contacts the car behind you and the Monte Carlo hits you and you go into the steering wheel and bash your head. And is it because of a time from a day earlier, a week earlier, years earlier, where you were in too big of a hurry, where you cut somebody off, where you may have caused a wreck and didn't even know it? I mean, is there a resonation? Is there a ripple?
Karma? Are you talking about?
I'm just wondering more about time. I'm wondering about the ripple that we cause as we go through life. Everyone knows about the butterfly effect, so you're an awfully big butterfly if you're a walking, talking person at 5 foot, 6 foot tall. So you're flapping your wings in your hot rod and you're driving down the street, and maybe you kind of set yourself up. Is that even something to think about in all of this?
Yes.
It is.
Something to think about. When the first, really, well, it wasn't the first. I had quite a few little things. But the one where I was hit from behind and the car was blocking me in front, and I had my daughter in the car with me, and I kept thinking, that guy's going to hit me. I knew psychically he was going to hit me. And I got instantly mad. I don't have time. My daughter's going to be late for school. This is a little pickup. And why doesn't he look up? And I was arguing with the guy. Car in front of me was parked, trying to turn to the left. So, but all I would have to do was just pull around, and maybe it would have been illegal, but I could have gone around him. But instead, I chose to argue for the 10 seconds it took for him to hit me.
Wow. Okay.
So that, I don't know. Where do we put that?
Well,
because of it, I was in a profession. I was training to do something I hated. Because of it, I was unable to do it. I had to quit. It changed my life totally around, so that the direction I was going was just, nope, you're going to do this. And as a result, I did something else.
wow.
So it worked out. Did I cause it? Don't know if I actually caused it or if I could have stopped it. But I do know that it really was something that benefited me in the long run.
Okay, so again,
My daughter.
hidden miracles, I suppose, and we're sort of sliding towards, you know, like the Final Destination franchise, I think, a little bit when we talk about these kinds of things. Brenda doesn't know what that is probably, but it's those ridiculous movies where things roll around and death is after you and there's no escaping it. And that's true. Death is absolutely inescapable, physically at least, in these vessels. Otherwise you should be just fine with it, I think. But interesting to note, Brenda, that again, whether you call it karma, whether you call it just, as I maybe coined it or tried to metaphorically look at it, ripples of little stones that we throw out there, no matter what they are. Maybe even we're setting ourselves up for something that, as you mentioned, seemed bad at the time, but actually changes us for the better in the long run. Sometimes it can be very difficult to see the good in some of these things that happen.
The anger I felt, and I was really arguing with what I knew was going to happen, which was my attitude at that time about almost everything. Bad divorce that I'd gone through. My life was changed very much not the way I wanted it to be. And the anger actually was the prominent emotion at the time. Instead of, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to get clobbered. I just grabbed my daughter and was mad. That's all I got done.
I know I had an interesting story that was the opposite of that, Brenda, actually. This goes back years ago, and we're getting this right now. Guys, it's almost time to stop. So we'll have to cut this short here at some point. We've got another question we have to get to, but I want to tell this story too because it's the opposite of what Brenda was just talking to us about, where she did get into a wreck. I was with my wife. She had a little Geo Metro, and great on gas. Ran on a thimble full of corn oil, and you could run it for months. It was terrible. And I had this big Trans Am, so we were gassing it up every other day. We were in the car late at night. I don't remember the road conditions. I think it was wintertime, but maybe a little slickery. That really wasn't important. She's going to make the left to go towards our apartment where we used to live. And something, as she did that, and by the way, my wife is someone that not only do you not ever criticize her driving, you don't criticize anything ever about, ever. And you certainly don't ever grab the wheel or anything else related to the operation of the car. I mean, you don't give her one of these squeezy knee things while she's trying to do the gas, or you don't play with her at all while she drives. Very serious business. Something just clicked, though. Something just snapped as she started to make this left. And I reached over and just grabbed the wheel and prevented the turn. Just at that moment, boom! Here comes this guy, and he clipped her side mirror by probably that much. We got home and saw that there was just the tiniest little scratch right across it. Didn't dismount it, didn't break the glass, just barely scraped it. And I remember her reaction after I did that, and he zoomed by, and we didn't even realize that he came that close to actually wiping us out. She looked at me just dead stop, frozen, and said, "How did you do that? How did you know that person was there?" And I said, "I don't know. I just knew." And that's one of several instances that I've had in vehicles where I really feel like there's been some sort of intervention to help me from becoming seriously injured, paralyzed, whatever.
Absolutely. My husband,
and it's pretty cool when it happens.
Yeah, it is. My husband doesn't believe, he gives me just enough credit to keep me from killing him in his sleep. But when I tell him that we're going somewhere and I say don't go this direction, he never questions me. So that part is developed. Not before, I've had probably 7 or 8 minors, fender benders.
Well, that's a neat exercise. Maybe that's something we should share with folks, just sort of in closing this out, because we've gone all the way from talking about our physical body to being in maybe what seems like the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe it's not. But
it's not.
If you ever find yourself in a hurry, and I am a lot, because the town that we reside in must statistically have probably the worst drivers in the entire world. I mean, the driving where we come from is deplorable. It's embarrassing. It makes the people in Miami look like good drivers. Yeah, I said it. Wow, I was disappointed. Anyway, maybe when you're in a hurry, you're sitting there, the light isn't turning fast enough, you didn't make the lane, what have you, there's a reason why. think of it in the terms of the fact that, well, this is the way that it needs to be. Maybe go with that flow a little bit more, Brenda, and stop resisting it.
How about that, taking that whole line of thinking and applying it toward your entire life?
That works too.
And the fact that we're not getting well from a car wreck or we have something, why not take that same thought? Just relax, have a look at what's really going on and see if we really want to be sick or not.
Okay. I don't think any of us do, but maybe if we really boil down to the truth, we'd be surprised with the answer. Maybe some of us actually do.
Well,
And we have to look at why we'd want that.
Well, being tucked in with chicken soup and go back to bed sounds pretty darn good sometimes.
You know, the worst thing about being tucked in with chicken soup is that if it spills at all, it'll burn the heck out of like your crotch and your lower extremities. It's bad. So I don't like to be tucked in with chicken soup.
Yeah, if it's homemade chicken soup, then ask who made it. You know, it's a whole bunch of things.
Chicken with stars.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's probably Resident Evil's favorite soup. Chicken with stars. I had to get Shuffy. He's a video game nerd, and I don't know nearly as much, but I know a few things I could say. Brenda, are we going to hold this question over until the next go-around?
Let's do that.
Okay, so this one's coming at you the next go-around here on Bridging the Gap. This go-around has featured, as always, Brenda Burgett, Intuitive Medium, Spiritual Advisor, and yours truly, Ian Hansen. Please get questions to Brenda. You can do that through the website. You may be watching our program there right now, bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com or bridgingthegaptv.com. You can also check us out on YouTube. That's Bridging the Gap on TV. And hello to the folks in the capital of Ghana, Accra. We hope everything is well there. Brenda, thanks so much for the time.
Been great.
You might be saying, why is he saying hello to Ghana? Where is that even? You go online and see for yourself why we might say that. Again, I'm Ian Hansen. Until the next time, here on Bridging the Gap, enjoy your existence, folks. We'll talk to you soon.